All right, we're diving into some pretty choppy waters today.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about the potential impact of some recent executive orders
Right.
on international higher education
Yeah.
here in the U.S.
Big topic.
Huge, huge topic. And, just imagine, you finally get your visa.
Yeah.
You're all set. You're ready to go. You're ready to start your dream program at a U.S. university.
Yeah.
And bam, the rules change.
Oh, yeah.
It's got to feel like the rug's been pulled out from under you.
For sure.
And that's the reality that so many people are facing right now in the wake of these latest executive orders.
Right.
And some of them directly target immigration, and then others, there are kind of like ripple effects on international students and faculty.
Yeah.
And so we're digging into this PIE news article that really breaks down some of these changes
Okay.
and what they could mean for the future of international education,
Yeah.
but also what they could mean for you personally.
It's a pretty intense situation, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not just talking about, like, little tiny tweaks to visa procedures.
Yeah.
These are orders that touch on everything from,
Right.
who qualifies for U.S. citizenship
Wow.
to the very climate on college campuses.
Yeah, so let's start with this idea of extreme vetting
Okay.
for visa applicants, which sounds a little bit like out of a spy movie.
Yeah.
What does it actually mean
Yeah.
for someone who's hoping to study or work here in the U.S.?
Well, it could mean much, much longer wait times for your visa application.
Right.
As background checks just become way more rigorous.
Oh, wow.
It could even mean, visa suspensions for entire countries.
Wow.
Imagine you have your whole future on hold just because of where you're from.
Yeah.
And so this uncertainty, it's really causing a lot of anxiety for both prospective students and faculty.
So it's not even just about the stricter checks. It's also the lack of information that's adding to the stress.
Totally. The article mentions NAFSA, the Association of International Educators, working overtime to give guidance to universities and individuals.
Okay.
But even they admit there are a lot of unknowns right now.
So NAFSA, for those of us who aren't familiar with the acronym,
right.
What is that?
They're a leading voice in international education.
Okay.
They're advocating for policies that support international students and scholars.
Got it.
So they're essentially trying to make sense of all this chaos and give reliable information to everyone who's affected.
Okay, so that's extreme vetting. But then there's this whole issue of birthright citizenship.
Oh, yeah.
And this one's a real head scratcher.
It is.
I mean,
yeah, because this executive order, it aims to end automatic citizenship for children born in the U.S. to non-citizens, even if those parents are here legally, like on a student or work visa.
So if I'm an international student and I have a child, that child wouldn't be a U.S. citizen.
Exactly.
That's a huge shift.
Huge shift, yeah. The article uses Kamala Harris as an example.
Interesting.
If this order had been in place when she was born to immigrant parents, she wouldn't have automatically been a U.S. citizen.
Wow, that really puts it into perspective.
Right.
And so to be clear, birthright citizenship comes from the 14th Amendment.
Yes.
That guarantees citizenship to anyone born on U.S. soil.
That's correct.
How's that?
And this executive order is already facing legal challenges.
I was going to say, is that even?
Yeah, there's a multi-state lawsuit that's arguing that it violates the 14th Amendment.
Wow.
But even setting aside the legal battle, this has huge implications for families who are coming to the U.S. to study or work.
Absolutely.
This is a major change to what they thought they were signing up for.
Makes you wonder if this changes.
Totally.
The reputation of the U.S. as a welcoming place for international students and scholars.
For sure.
Because if I'm thinking about bringing my family over here, this is going to give me pause.
It definitely raises questions about the future of the U.S.
Right.
as a destination for international talent.
Yeah.
And it ties into this broader pattern that we're seeing with these executive orders, like this shift in priorities and a potential narrowing of who's welcome in the U.S.
And speaking of shifting priorities, let's talk about these executive orders that are targeting gender and diversity.
Right.
What are we looking at here?
Well, first there's the revocation of previous orders that protected against discrimination based on gender identity or sexual orientation.
Got it.
Then there's this other executive order that specifically says that there are only two sexes, male and female, and that sex is not changeable.
Wow.
And the article highlights how this could impact students with gender X passports. And this is creating a lot of confusion and uncertainty for them.
So imagine you're a student
Right.
with a gender X passport.
Uh-huh.
You've been accepted to a U.S. university.
Right.
And now, all of a sudden,
Right.
the government's saying your gender is not recognized.
Yeah.
That must be incredibly unsettling.
Absolutely. And this is all happening alongside an order that's ending DEI programs, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs within the federal government.
Right.
And the article points out that this is already having this domino effect.
Wow.
With major companies like McDonald's and Walmart and Meta all having to reevaluate their own DEI programs.
So this isn't just about government policy then.
Yeah.
It's potentially impacting workplaces and campuses all across the country.
Yeah.
This feels like a pretty big deal.
It is. It is a really big deal.
Yeah.
It is. It makes you wonder how this shift is going to impact the future of diversity on college campuses.
Yeah.
Like, will it affect the composition of the student body? You know, will it impact the kind of research that gets prioritized?
Yeah.
These are big questions that we just don't have answers to yet.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in, and we haven't even talked about these changes to immigration enforcement yet.
Yeah.
The article mentioned something about sensitive locations. What's that all about?
Yeah, so for over a decade, schools and universities have been considered sensitive locations where immigration enforcement actions were generally avoided.
Right.
This was to protect students and create a safe learning environment.
Right.
But this new order reverses that protection.
So immigration enforcement could now take place on college campuses.
That's right.
Wow.
The article even advises colleges to prepare for the possibility of IC, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or CBP, Customs and Border Protection presence on their grounds.
I can only imagine how stressful that would be.
Oh, yeah.
For students, faculty, staff. It feels like a huge step backwards in creating that welcoming and safe environment for international students.
It definitely raises concerns about what kind of chilling effect this could have.
Right.
You know, will international students feel safe coming to the U.S. to study if they're worried about immigration enforcement happening on their campus?
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Didn't the article also mention something about DACA?
Yes.
The Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program?
Right.
Wasn't there some talk about potentially working with Democrats on that issue?
Yeah. During the campaign, there were signals that the administration might be open to working with Democrats on DACA. And this program, as you know, provides protection from deportation for undocumented immigrants who were brought to the U.S. as children.
So there's a possibility of some relief for DACA recipients.
Potentially, but NAFSA is urging caution. They're pointing out these were just signals, not concrete action. They want to see actual policy changes that address the concerns of DACA recipients, not just vague promises.
So we're seeing this kind of mixed message then. Yeah. On the one hand, we have these executive orders creating a lot of fear and uncertainty, especially for immigrant communities.
Yeah.
But then there's this glimmer of hope with DACA.
Yeah.
Even though it's still totally unclear what will happen.
Totally.
It's confusing.
It is confusing.
To say the least.
And I think that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
It's hard to know what to expect.
Right.
When the messaging is so contradictory.
You know, it makes me wonder about the bigger picture here.
Yeah.
What does all of this mean for the future of international higher education in the U.S.?
Huge question.
Yeah.
Is the U.S. even still seen as a desirable place to study?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
It is.
I mean, the article is focusing on the immediate impacts of these executive orders.
Right.
But the long-term consequences.
Who knows?
We just don't know.
Yeah, they're still unfolding.
It's hard not to think that this could have a negative impact.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a talented student or researcher from another country, wouldn't all of this make you think twice about coming to the U.S.?
It's certainly possible. The U.S. has long been a global leader in higher ed, attracting the best and brightest from all over the world.
Right.
But these executive orders could change that.
So we've covered a lot of ground here today. We've talked about extreme vetting, birthright citizenship, changes to gender and diversity policies, and the impact on immigration enforcement.
Big stuff.
I mean, it's a lot to process.
It is.
And I'm sure our listeners are out there trying to make sense of it all.
For sure.
What would you say are the key takeaways from all of this?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is the uncertainty. Yeah.
That these executive orders have created.
Right.
We're in uncharted territory here, and the long-term consequences are still unclear.
Right. And this uncertainty is causing a lot of anxiety.
Oh, absolutely.
For international students, faculty, their families.
Everyone.
Yeah.
And it's not just about individual anxieties either.
Right.
This has the potential to reshape the entire landscape of higher education in the U.S., impacting the diversity of campuses and the global competitiveness of American universities.
And it's not something that we can just ignore and hope it goes away.
Not at all.
This is an issue that requires our attention
and
action.
Absolutely. So where do we go from here?
Right.
What can our listener, someone who might be directly affected by these changes, or simply cares about the future of international education, what can they do?
Yeah, what can they actually do?
Well, staying informed is crucial. Organizations like NAFSA, they're doing amazing work.
Keeping everyone up to date on policy changes.
Right.
Providing resources.
Yeah.
So don't just rely on headlines.
Right.
Dig a little deeper.
Yeah.
Understand the nuances of what's happening.
So do your research.
Right.
Check out reliable sources like NAFSA. Stay informed.
Yeah.
What else?
Engagement.
Okay.
It's easy to feel overwhelmed and powerless in these situations.
Yeah.
But your voice matters.
Absolutely.
Reach out to your elected officials.
Okay.
Advocate for policies that support a welcoming and inclusive academic environment.
Right.
And let them know this issue is important to you.
Right. Make your voice heard.
Exactly.
Don't underestimate the power of contacting your representatives.
Yeah.
Writing letters to the editor. Or even just talking to your friends and family about this issue.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for those who are within the higher ed community,
Okay.
supporting your international students and colleagues is key.
Right.
Create spaces for dialogue, offer resources, and advocate for their needs within your institution.
Yeah, it sounds like we're at a real crossroads here.
I think so.
These executive orders have created a lot of uncertainty.
For sure.
But they've also kind of galvanized people to action.
Yeah, and that's what gives me hope.
Yeah.
The article, while highlighting the challenges, also shows the resilience of the international education community.
Yeah.
There are organizations and individuals out there fighting for a future where the U.S. remains a welcoming destination for talent and innovation from all over the world.
It's inspiring to see that even in the face of all these challenges, there's so much energy and dedication to making sure that international education thrives.
Absolutely. And I think that's the takeaway I'd like to leave our listener with.
Okay.
These issues are complex.
Yeah.
The future is uncertain, but there's still reason for hope.
Right.
Stay informed.
Okay.
Get involved.
Yep.
And remember that the choices we make today will shape the future of higher education in the U.S. for years to come.
That's a powerful reminder that we all have a role to play.
You do.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listener with one final thought.
Okay.
The article focused on the potential negative impacts of these executive orders.
Right.
But it also kind of made me wonder, could these very changes, intended to restrict immigration, reshape the demographics of higher ed, could they ultimately backfire?
Ooh, interesting.
Could they inadvertently push talented individuals to seek opportunities in other countries?
Yeah.
And make the U.S. less competitive in the long run?
That's an excellent question.
Yeah.
And one that I think we'll be grappling with for some time.
For sure.
It's too early to say for sure what the long-term consequences will be.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a possibility worth considering.
For sure. It definitely gives us all something to ponder as we continue to watch this story unfold.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And a special thanks to you, our listener, for taking the time to learn more about this critical issue.